What y'all listening to?
Limelight Highlight Podcast.
Welcome once again to the show, Your Positive Podcast. Safe space and great place for a positive outlook on life. This episode and every episode is brought to you by The Block Gives Back, our favorite nonprofit organization based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, who recently is having a ton of growth and a lot of really cool things happening within their organization. We'll touch on that in the near future, but things have been a little bit hectic lately with life and all that. Unfortunately, my grandmother has passed last week, so I didn't really get a chance to do an episode. Being far away from family really starts to take its toll, but let's get to some good news. It seems like every time I skip a week without releasing an episode, the following week I have a guest. So I promise I didn't work this out, or I didn't plan it out that way. But regardless, I'm glad that it does happen that way. Today we have a special guest, Jaqueline, who is the project manager of this pretty spectacular project called The Other 100. It's a play on words that you'll hear about all very soon. We touch on all this project is about and how it got started and all the benefits of highlighting and needing positive information in the media space. So this pandemic has really forced us to get creative, and I've been getting more and more into contact with people all over the world, like Jaqueline, who's based in Malaysia. Never in my life did I think I'd be speaking to someone on the other side of the world for a podcast, so this is something that I really appreciate. It also made me realize that there really is a lack of positive news outlets out there, and all the more reason to really get it together and provide that good news space for you guys. So let me stop rambling, and let's welcome Jaqueline to the show, and I hope you guys enjoy. We're rolling. All right, Jaqueline. So we are in a Facebook group is how I got in contact with you, and you are the project manager of The Other 100.
That's right. The Other 100.
And just to give our guests, to give our audience a little bit about you, Jaqueline, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure, definitely. Thank you so much for having me on the show. My name is Jaqueline, and I am from Malaysia, sunny Malaysia, and I'm ethnic Chinese. So I work as a program manager at a Pan-Asia think tank called the Global Institute for Tomorrow, GIFT, GIFT for short. And we run a foundation that also runs the Other 100 project. So how I got to work in this think tank is that previously I was a broadcast journalist for 8 to 9 years, and I decided to make a career change to see where else I can make a difference, or find find a job that helps me see the world differently, to learn about different perspective. And this think tank just came into the radar, and here I am running this global nonprofit photojournalism project for the company.
That's awesome. That's so you were like on the news and everything, pretty much.
Yes, that's right.
Oh wow, what a career change. How was that? What was that like?
The career change?
No, just being on the news, and I guess the career change, just like, I know you said you wanted to make a difference, more positive change, but did you feel like you were being hindered or something stopping you from?
No, I mean, after doing news for X amount of time, everything starts to feel, no matter how exciting it used to be, it starts to feel like run of the mill. And the media landscape, not just Malaysia but worldwide, is suffering from not being able to find the right business model since the internet came into the picture. How do you charge for accurate, good analysis? How do you charge for accurate information when everybody just goes to Google, just goes to Facebook? So in general, the media landscape is not doing very well. So you have a lot of layoffs, you have a lot of restructuring. It's a nice word they like to use. So yeah, I thought rather than trying to cling on the sinking ship, why not make a career change to explore something else before you get any older and you get stuck in an industry that is, what they call sunset. So
Yeah,
best to find time to explore something else while you can. So that's why I did the change.
for sure. Yeah, that especially, I mean, as far as America goes, I know it's probably I'm not sure the political climate in Malaysia, but with America, everything is either fake news or a lot of the journalists, they call them journalists now, um, aren't reporting so accurate news. So everybody's going to different sources and outsourcing their news. So I can completely understand why some of that media has to do that restructuring.
Yeah, and sometimes it's really not up to the journalists what they want to say because they still a newsman has no voice without a paper to write on.
Right,
So
right, right.
so you have to toe the line or you're out of job. So most of the time it really depends on what your agency stands for. And yeah, so big corporation controls the media, and it really there's a lot of vested interest in there. It's not. That's why being a journalist right now is a lot harder. You love the industry, you love the job, but you really have to pick which company you want to work for.
I can see that. And information changes so quickly that it's hard to stay on top of everything. And the minute you get one thing wrong, you're discredited or somebody thinks you're discredited. The public opinion changes so fast.
Yeah, and right now it seems to be more important to be fast than accurate. So the benchmark for good reporting has changed, and it shouldn't be speed that just only speed that matters. It should also be the accuracy, the depth of the reporting. But yeah, it's becoming harder for newsroom to value the right things.
One of the main reasons that you're our guest today is to talk about the other 100, which is I read the mission statement, and it's to break stereotypes and honor everyone's contribution to society and spread positivity, which is basically everything that I want to highlight on this podcast. How did you get involved with the other 100, or who came up with the concept and all that?
Sure, let me just talk a little bit about how the Other Hundred was founded. Why is it called the Other Hundred? So our founder, Chandran Nair, who is a Malaysian, but he's based in Hong Kong. So he is also the founder of Gift. When he saw, I think everybody is very familiar with the Forbes 100. So 100 richest man on earth, and the highest paying entertainer in Hollywood. So it got himself thinking. So yeah, you have all this rich and famous 100, but what's it got to do with the rest of us, right? And does it mean that the rest of us who aren't rich and famous do not do enough, or are not recognized for their accomplishments in their own field? So that's why he created this project called the Other 100, people other than those in the Forbes 100. And it's really to create a platform for people to get curious about other culture. um, how do you it starts from being curious and then wanting to know more, wanting to read up, to check out a country, to Google someone else's culture. That's the first step to understanding, and move on to appreciation, to recognize that, oh, there are similarities amongst us, despite the differences. The way we dress, the way we look like, the way we what languages we use, the way we eat. So in 2013, we launched our inaugural edition. So that was very successful in 2013, and subsequently we rolled out the Other 100 Entrepreneurs. So it highlights entrepreneurs from all around the world. So when you think about entrepreneurs, it's usually like, finance, Wall Street, the big banker, statistics, so people in suits. what about people who are doing business all over the world? It's just trying to make an honest day of work, bring in, just serving their community, and seeing that spirit of serving is more important than making big bucks. So
Yeah,
so
I love
that was very interesting. We got a lot of good entries as well. And then after that, in 2017, we launched the other 100 educators. So it's to also tell people that, teachers are not just teachers in the classroom. You have all sorts of teachers. Teachers who deals with, elderlies, people who deal with children, disabled. People teach different kinds of subjects. And how do they teach? A teacher in the US may look very different from, say, teacher in Afghanistan. But they are both educators.
Correct.
So that's how you find that similarity. It's like, oh, okay. And it's also to get
relate.
people thinking about creative ways of to a problem. How is a country that is really strapped for resources versus a country that is rich, has everything they need? How does the poor country deal with the problem? How do they come up with solutions? So that's also an interesting point we want people to see, and to be able to learn from each other and not think that, just because the country is poor, it has nothing to offer. You don't talk down to other countries or to people of different cultures. Right? So fast forward to 2020, because of the pandemic, we find that the other 100 healers is a fitting theme to inject some positivity into daily news stream. It's very morbid nowadays. You see death toll climbing, you see, hospitals running out of resources, etc. So this is
all bad news.
Yeah, that's right. So we want to use this project to let people, to be the beacon of hope, to let people know that we are all in this together, no matter where you're from, what color of your skin, what language you speak. It's the same virus that's attacking us as a human race.
Yeah. For the first time, I think this virus has shown multiple countries and societies and cultures that it doesn't matter how rich you are, how poor you are, how healthy you are or not. Like it can happen to anyone and anything. And that's a great premise. I like that a lot. I seen you shared with me a lot of those stories, and this is, like I said, it's encompassing everything that I want to highlight on this podcast. But what are like, how many people are involved in this project, and how many submissions do you usually get, and how does that process work?
So the team is actually really small. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, 5 or 6 of us.
So just a handful of people. Wow.
Yeah, a handful of people. Some of us are sitting in Kuala Lumpur, some of us are in Hong Kong. So it's a cross-country project that we're managing this. About the submissions, in the previous editions, we used to get thousands of submissions competing for 100, to be the top 100. So, but because of the pandemic, we realized that it really changes everything. Our submission right now, we started open call in June, so it's about 2 months of open call. We've gotten about 200 submissions. But
an open call is just like to show everybody, hey, you can submit something that you're doing.
Correct. So the submission portal is up. People can start submitting stories, and we put up the rules and regulation, the requirements, etc. So within 2 months, we've gotten 200 submissions so far, which is a really tiny number compared to previous editions when we are getting by the thousands. But we realized that it's a lot harder because of the travel restriction. Because photographers are mostly international, they travel and they already have pictures in their portfolio that fits the theme that they can submit. But right now, it has to be about the pandemic. unsung heroes within the serving communities within the pandemic